And here's the thing. This isn't a matter of Burrow would have been out after the next contract. He had some levers that he could have used to
Yeah.
put pressure on them now.
Hmm.
And yeah, you give up your ongoing pay if you just quit on the Bengals. But I think the basic foundation was in place for him to pull a Carson Palmer without significant financial penalty. And that's related to the project I was working on, which might be irrelevant now that they've paid Higgins and Chase, but it was a very real part of Burrow's leverage, and I think it got the Bengals' attention, and it was part of the reason why they did what they did. This was forced by Burrow. They needed to placate Joe Burrow because he didn't want to be the only guy there. He wasn't going to be the sun in the center of this solar system of draft picks aimed at replacing talented players who had to go elsewhere to get paid. They tried that with Jesse Bates and Dax Hill, and it blew up in their faces. And they tried it with Jermaine Burton. Jermaine Burton was going to be the new T. Higgins.
Yeah.
That's how they've done business.
Right.
We get a guy who turns out to be good. We're going to franchise tag him, and we're going to draft his replacement the same year. And it didn't work with Jesse Bates and Dax Hill, and it didn't work with T. Higgins and Jermaine Burton. So they had to finally pay these guys. And they had to do it, or they were going to have a major problem with the biggest star they've ever had. You were talking earlier about Fashion Week 2 in Paris. I still can't help but wonder. When Joe Burrow shows up in Paris, there's got to be some of that French attitude toward Joe Burrow, like, who is this Joe Burrow? Like, they're still looking down their noses at a quarterback from Cincinnati, Ohio, aren't they?
Well, maybe, but I don't know if he's walking in with Donatella Versace. Maybe their noses aren't so down. They're like, damn, I guess he's the man. So let me just, I might as well not be snooty to him. I don't know, the people he rolls with. I think he gets respect pretty quickly. And the circles he's in, I mean, he's global superstar. But yeah, I don't know how they treat him over there. But slowly but surely, I think the French are starting to like football a little bit more and more.
And that's not an anti-Cincinnati take. I live in West Virginia. This is an observation that, in Paris, as some would say, they think who they are. So I just can't imagine that he's completely broken through that wall, because I don't think there's a lot of people in Paris who understand who Joe Burrow is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If he walks through the door with people who have given him their imprimatur or imprimatur, depending upon how you pronounce that word, and I'm never sure of the right way, so I rarely say it. Regardless, if he gets their seal of approval, then that's a big step toward being accepted by that world.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I do want to mention this.
Yeah.
And I've tried to reach a point in my professional life where, I'm not squabbling with the other people who do what we do. Number one, life's too short. Number two, I don't want to be, accosted in a Starbucks or a Burger King, as the case may be. But I've noticed two things over the past week. Number one, we've talked about this. There's a formula for handling the information that is spoon-fed by the agents to the insiders to put on Twitter, to spark the thumb race. Who can get it up on Twitter first? The group text, you got to say, player name, here's what he's getting paid, total value with the guarantee and the new money, and contract negotiated by, insert the names of the agents. That's the cover charge for getting the information. You got to grease the agents. You got to look the other way on the new money, and you have to say guaranteed, not full guarantee, because the guaranteed number is always bigger. That's one thing. We've seen it over and over again over the past week.
Right.
Here's the other thing. On the occasion when somebody truly does get it first, like your guy Jordan Schultz got it first last night, exclusively from T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. When something like that happens, the other insiders just ignore it like it never even happened.
It's hilarious.
Their report is the first report. Shefty, and again, we're trying to get along on the mean streets of Scooptown, but it's like he's breaking it hours later. Pelissero from NFL Network, he broke it clearly after Schultz, and they downplay, well, Higgins announced it. Well, yeah, Higgins announced it, but So I mean, Schultz worked something behind the scenes.
Oh, well,
He
we got to
worked
check
something.
Uber stock. I'm sure it's way up.
And see here, and let me tell you something. And I don't have the time to do this, but going back to the biggest story of Combine Week, the Schultz-Rappaport get together at the Starbucks at the JW Marriott. There's a story to be told here somewhere, and I've been trying to agitate for the people who I think are in position to get to the bottom of this rabbit hole. Because at the core of their confrontation is apparently, and this is based on some things said by my internet son, PFT commenter on Pardon My Take, some accusations by Schultz to Rappaport about things Rappaport's been saying about the way Schultz goes about gathering his information. And if there's any truth to the allegations of certain promises of things of value to sources or whatnot, there's a story to be told. And it's either there are people out there who are engaged in some unconventional activities, to say the least, when it comes to compensating sources for information, or there's other insiders telling lies and defaming those who aren't engaged in those behaviors. There's just a hell of a story to be told there. And that's why I think last night was so funny, because somehow Schultz got it before anybody else, and they blasted it out as exclusive. It wasn't exclusive. He just got it a few minutes before everybody else. And they're all acting like nobody else had it, that they're the first ones. Anyway.
It is odd. It is odd. Jordan Schultz does know humorous. People. I know him a little bit. I would trust that he's got a few connections out there. But, yeah, you're right. The story, the real story, whatever it is, right. I would be interested to know what it is as well. I would.
And look. Hey, 3 of the top insiders are employed directly by the league, and they get upset when I say that. I don't care. It's true. Your paycheck's signed by Roger Goodell. They're in a position to get things that others aren't, and that just goes with the territory. But it's like you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to say it. Everybody's out there grinding. They're digging through dumpsters. They're getting pieces of paper that have been shredded, and they're piecing together. That's not how it works. This isn't real journalism, folks. This is having the right relationship to get the access and playing the game a certain way. And I like to observe how the game is played, especially because I stopped playing it. When I realized you have to carve off slivers of your soul to play that part of the game, I'm out, baby. I'm out. Now, we're already established and I can afford to do it. And also, as we'll explain later in the show, my goal is to find out the shit they don't want you to know. I'm not going to bust my ass and compromise what little integrity I have, if any, on getting something 5 minutes before somebody else has it or 5 minutes before they announce it. I want to find out the stuff they don't want us to know. And there's one key thing that we're going to discuss later in the show that they tried to keep under wraps as long as possible that will provide some of the content for the rest of the day. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.